Craft Root Sports Cincinnati Style is brought to you by Minuteman Tickets. Football season is in full swing and basketball season is back. There's only one spot you should be heading to get your tickets, and that's Minuteman Tickets. Look, we love Minuteman. They're Ohio guys, they're sports fans, and they're not going to screw you over like other ticketing places. And it's not just football or basketball either. They've got it all. Baseball, hockey, theater, rib cook-offs, it doesn't matter. Hit them up, MinutemanTickets.com, or give them a call, 614-943-3000, and avoid all of the fees. Tell them you heard about them right here on Craft Root Sports Cincinnati Style.
Craft Root Sports Cincinnati Style is also brought to you by More Labs. Drink one bottle of morning recovery while you're partying and bounce back quickly the next morning, guaranteed. Go to morelabs.com and use the code SPORTS at checkout for 20% off your non-subscription purchase.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Craft Root Sports Cincinnati Style. I am Mike. With me as always is Scott. Joe over there behind the computers. Joe, how you feeling this week?
What it do, baby?
Scott, Ravens. Jesus. I mean, the only thing that was surprising was that it was only the Bengals were only 10-point dogs going into that game. That's the only surprising thing about that game.
It took them 2 passes to get inside the 5-yard line.
Unreal. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into...
Lamar was wearing sunglasses on the sidelines, laughing.
He hit us with the Thug Life meme on the sidelines. We'll talk all about Lamar Jackson and how he destroyed the Cincinnati defense. We'll talk about the rise of the Finley era.
The rise.
And also the rumors about the Bengals potentially bringing in the quarterback of the future.
Some guy. Stay tuned.
Crazy.
Teaser.
Also, we're into the easy part of the schedule, so we'll break down how the Bengals are going to fare throughout the rest of the season. We got some Reds hot stove talk. I know Joe doesn't want to hear it, but that's what's going to happen. We're also going to talk some Xavier basketball, UC football. Tons to get to this week. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Let's get right into this Bengals talk for this week because, good Lord, man. I mean,
that's when it starts out like that.
I knew the Bengals were going to lose that game. I knew, and nobody could have convinced me that the Bengals were going to beat Baltimore.
Nobody sane could have thought otherwise,
right? But did you really think it was going to be that bad? Like, that game was over by halftime. It may have been over in the first quarter. It was complete decimation.
Yeah, it was. I jokingly said after they scored the first touchdown, and they never trailed again. And they didn't. But then it was like after they went up 2 scores and just the way they did it so quickly and effortlessly, I was like, the Ravens should just treat this like a preseason game. There is zero reason for their starters to be out there after it gets past halftime. Like, you risk an injury to these guys. Yeah. There's no point to it. I mean, RG3 was out there throwing passes. That's how you knew it's that type of day.
The option play when
both
Lamar,
of them were on the field?
Yes, when Lamar pitched it to RG3, I was like, they are running
high school
plays, they're running a high school option and gaining 12 yards on the bank. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
It was so brutal to watch.
Disrespectful.
I really hope that at some point I will get to a point in my fandom where my team is not the one that is on the other end of somebody else's highlight reel. And this week wasn't that week because Lamar went for arguably one of the best runs I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Which we had talked about how the Bengals and the fact that there is zero chance at open field tackles was going to really hurt them playing against a guy like Lamar. And that was put on display as he was juking people out of their jockstrap and pressing circle and spinning, and it was unreal. That was the 47-yard touchdown run. Thank you, Joe, for bringing that one up in the third quarter. They put them up 35-10. Even going into halftime, like normally at halftime, it's like, all right, they've played bad, but there's glimmers of hope. This one was from the first quarter. I was like, this is done.
Well, and you know what? I thought back more on it, like during the game and after the game. So, you know, in the NFL, when teams are in a situation like this where, you know, hey, they might make this quarterback change, it tends to happen on the bye week, right?
Yep.
Teams want to do it so that, you know, the second guy has
2
that
weeks.
extra week of prep and yada, yada, yada. And on the surface, that sounds like a good idea. Like, all things considered, if somebody dropped you down on planet Earth and said, all right, here's how football works and here's what these teams do when they're in this situation, you'd be like, yeah, okay, that makes total sense. But then I thought about it more, and I'm like, wait a minute. They put in a rookie quarterback against arguably the best team in the NFL? Mm-hmm. Like, arguably, at least the AFC.
Right.
And you know, possible Super Bowl representative in the AFC. They thought that was a good idea. I started thinking through it more, and I'm like, what did they do to poor Ryan Finley to think I know you had the bye week, but they should have waited. You know, you mentioned at the top of the show, well, the back half of the schedule becomes the easier part.
Right.
Despite the extra week of practice, why not put him in against one of the, you know, the Jets, the Dolphins? Don't put a rookie quarterback up against this team.
It almost felt like they were like, we're halfway through it. We haven't won a game, so let's just.
I get that.
The time to turn the page.
Again, it makes sense from logistics of we've played exactly half of our season. We have this bye week. It works out all. But then when you say, but oh wait, we're coming out and we're facing the division team, and it's one of the best teams in the NFL. Maybe we shouldn't do it this week. Like, they could have given Ryan. I'm blanking
Finley.
on that. Thank you. They could have given Ryan Finley. I almost called him Lochte for a second. They could have given Ryan Finley.
They could have pulled him out of the pool and just
like, get in there.
Take off that Speedo and throw on some pads,
But
son.
they could have given Finley like all of the first team reps during the bye week. Like, they could have prepared as if he was going to play and still had Andy Dalton. Because it's not as if Andy Dalton needs all the reps. Like,
right.
He's still been a starter long enough that you can throw him in there after saying, all right, well, Finley got all the first team reps, but we don't think he's ready. We're preparing him if we need him later this season.
Right.
Knowing in your mind, we're going to start him up against one of these teams that we think are much worse off.
Yeah.
So the idea that they were like, nope, we're going through with this and we're going to start the Ravens, I'm like, they did it a total disservice. And, you know, you saw what he looked like. It's like, you can't get an accurate evaluation when he's down 14-0 before he got to blank.
Rocking a 20.1 QBR for the game.
Yeah, but I mean, I
legit.
legit felt bad for him because it's like, well, what did you want him to do? He was
Exactly.
put in a position where he had to throw, which is exactly where you don't want him to be. You know, the Bengals tried to run.
Which is amazing, though. But they did run.
Yeah,
and
Mixon finally had his best day of the season.
Mixon balls out, and it's because, I mean, everybody was just like, go ahead, Finley. See we're just going to drop everybody back in coverage because you can't. We're up by 35 anyway, so screw it. Go ahead and run. Who cares?
Well, and at that point, if you're the Bengals, I think that the light bulb did go off, and they're like, oh, we got to protect this kid. Let's just play keep. We're down $1 billion, but let's just play keep away. Let's run out the clock ourselves.
I was listening to the game on the radio, and it cracked me up because Lapham is talking, and he's like, Bengals are finally getting this running game going. What are you talking about, dude? They're running a prevent defense.
I was going to say down 4 scores. Like, sure.
But I think this was Mixon's first time over 100 yards, and he had to do it on 30-plus carries in order to get over 100, which that's not a good look. And I don't mean to call him out because he'll probably tell me to come do it yourself, see how you do. So good for you, Mixon. Congrats on that. But the story of the game clearly was Lamar Jackson. The dude throws for over 200 yards, rushes for 65. He accounts for 4 total touchdowns in the game. I mean, we've said before that the defense was kind of the bright spot on this team, and they just fell victim to being on the field too much and gave up stuff late. This was just utter domination from the start.
Yeah, no, I mean, from the word go, it never appeared as if, and you know, for the first time this season. So we've also talked about the fact that, all right, you know, it's a rookie head coach. He's coming in, expectations, got to be kind of low, and you're just looking for improvement across the board. But they lost to this same team by 6 points a few weeks ago. They had a bye week. And for the first time, I'm like, bro, this is on you. You had 2 weeks to prepare for this team. You lost to them by 6 last time, and that was on the road. And at home, you just got completely outclassed and outmatched from the word go. It's the first time that I'm like, you know what, Zach Taylor? You've got to take a heavy heaping of the blame because your call to start Ryan Finley, your 2 weeks of preparation for this team that you've already played once. Like, these are things where it's like you start looking at not just the personnel because we know what they are, but it's like, you got to start taking some of the blame on this one, and I point a very big finger at Coach for this one.
Is it the middle one? Because that's what I was pointing.
Well, it's exactly the middle one because, again, it's all taken with a grain, but it's like it was just so embarrassing when you consider the fact that they lost to this team by 6. It's like you never made it. It was never competitive.
Right.
Like, that game was competitive. Like, if the games had been flipped, you're thinking, all right, well, okay, they showed improvement.
Right.
Yeah, there's something here, and they put those. It's the opposite, and you're like, well, what did they do for those 2 weeks? And did they make the right call by starting Finley? Like, do you know what you're doing here, man? Like,
it's so many question marks around this team, and now we look ahead to the Raiders this week out in Oakland. ESPN gives the Bengals a solid 15.5% chance to win this game.
I, for one, hope that the Raiders win by 10.5. Let's call it 11, if you will.
Yes, Scott on our regular show picked the Raiders to cover the 10.5 point spread, which
means that the Bengals are going to win
or at least lose
cover.
by 10. Yeah,
they're probably going to firmly lose by 10. It is what it is.
But this is a game that at the beginning of the season, we looked at this one as like, hey, this is a possible win. Like, this is a team. Because
this is the stretch outside of the
Exactly. We're getting into this
Patriots.
part of the season where you've got the Raiders, the Steelers after that. Then they play the Jets, the Browns twice, the Dolphins. The only game that it's like, oh, boy, that's an automatic L is against the Patriots. Although I feel like nothing we've seen gives any belief that the Bengals can win any of these upcoming games.
I mean, I thought 4 wins on the season, and I can't find 4 among those last few games. Like,
the Dolphins is the only one that it's like
the Jets too. Jets too. I mean, that's another one.
ESPN predicting Miami 55% chance to win the game against the Bengals.
I'm more impressed that they already have the predictor out for that weeks away. That they've already got the Dolphins. I'm Dolphins are already favored to win this game.
Tie in there at 0.4%. That would be the game. That would be the game that comes out to a 0-0 tie.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, sadly, the best thing that happened to the Bengals this week was the fact that the Jets, the Falcons, and all these one-win teams that are right there on the heels that if the Bengals won one, then they fall back as far as the draft.
Yeah.
They all won, and so the Bengals are now 2 games clear of getting the first overall pick in the draft. That's seriously the best thing that happened to them.
They're gonna screw it up though, right? Like, they're gonna screw up.
No, I know, but the problem is I know everybody said that and joked that. Well, if the Bengals get the first overall pick, they'll still screw it up. But you also have the first overall pick in every round. So I mean, it's like yes, they very well may screw up the first overall pick in the draft,
so they
but they also
up 7
first round picks. Yeah, true. But I mean, again, they've got that chance though. You want to have that chance to screw up 7 first round picks in one draft.
I just have no faith anymore in this team.
It's rough.
It sucks to be this beaten down, and especially against a team like the Raiders, where it's like, I don't think the Raiders are a good team by any stretch of the imagination.
They're 4-5, and they've done nothing special. Are they 5-4? Oh, okay. Sorry, I was gonna say somewhere around there.
They're not great, is what it comes down to. They're not really great, but
the Raiders are what the NFL wants everybody to be, just middling.
Right, man. This is a pretty crazy season. For as much parity as the NFL wants, there are a lot of garbage teams. The Bengals being
I feel
one
like
of
that
them.
happens every year though. Like
this bad though?
No, well, okay, so it's not this bad. Like
Bad is
heavily
really
weighted,
bad.
but I mean the NFL just in general tends to have like a lot of bottom feeders in any respective year. Like, I mean, I know we're sitting here saying this, but it's like, but don't forget the Lions went 0-16. Like, I mean, there's been a few seasons here where it's just like, Jesus, man.
But I'm counting right now that Joe's got up on the screen. I'm counting 6 teams that have 2 wins or fewer. Is that right? 5 teams. No, 6 teams. 6 teams with 2 wins or fewer. That's terrible, man.
It's pretty ugly.
I mean, that's a fifth of your league? 2 wins or less?
That means that any given week, it's almost a guarantee that you're watching a matchup that has two teams that have a combined. I was gonna say that have a combined win total of 2.
It is. It just seems very strange this season, and there's so many terrible teams that are. If you expand it to only 3-win teams, I mean that's almost a quarter of the league.
It's rough.
But the Bengals are the worst of the worst as of right now, and I think that continues this week. I don't think there's any chance of beating the Raiders. Looking ahead at that schedule, I mean, I guess they got a shot against the Jets, maybe. They got a shot against the Dolphins. Could potentially end with 2 wins, but I think they lose both to the Browns. I
still maintain that they're not going to go winless. Like somewhere in these next few, they're going to find a win. But 2 max. Like I can't see any more than 2 wins in here, and I struggle to pinpoint those because you point at the Jets and the Dolphins, but both teams have found a way.
They're on fire.
Yeah, I was going to say
fire. 2 straight, baby.
They found a way to win in a couple, out of these last few weeks. So. I don't know, man. It's rough.
Well, is the answer a changing quarterback? Because there have been a lot of rumors going around since an announcement came out this week that Colin Kaepernick was going to be holding a workout. The NFL was doing a workout that every team was invited to, and Colin Kaepernick was going to be working out. And a lot of posts have come out. A lot of writers have said Kaepernick would be a good fit in Cincinnati. 5 teams that could use Colin Kaepernick right now, and Cincinnati was mentioned in every single article. Do they take a chance on Cap at this point? What do you got to lose, right? I mean, that's the only thing that...
As much as I want Cap to get back in the league, and I mean, I'll be happy for him no matter where he ends up, I just don't think it makes sense for this team because I said it all off season, and it's bearing the fruit, is that you came in with this rookie head coach and you had the chance to clean house personnel wise, but you hung on to all these guys and now it's like, we didn't even talk about that where it's like, is AJ Green making a business decision? Because it went from, that was another thing with the head coach where it's like, he didn't know that AJ Green wasn't playing until he got to the press conference and there's miscommunication there. So it's like, is AJ Green really hurt? I personally believe that if this team was competitive, he'd be out there. But it's to the point for AJ Green where he's like, I'm not 100%. I'm not risking it. Not that he's not he's still hurt.
Right.
But if the circumstances were different surrounding the team, I feel like he'd be out there playing. Whereas he looks around and is like, I mean, this team's winless.
We've seen him on the sidelines in those games where it's like he doesn't want to be out there right now. There's no way he's going to milk this injury all year long.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to accuse. I don't say milk, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's like you got to be real delicate. It's like you don't want to accuse the guy of purposely sitting out and anything. But I mean, it's like this to me is an ultimate business decision. He's just like.
It's Kawhi in San Antonio is what this is.
Load management. Nah. I'm not getting out there if I ain't got to be. I'm 97%, bro.
You want me to get hit right now? No, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm only 97%. I don't want to go out there and tweak something. But I totally get it, though. If you're him, why would you, if you're not absolutely 100% pain-free, go out there and risk re-injuring yourself and potentially screwing up what's left of your career? I mean, he's not getting any younger. He's already on the wrong side of 30. So I get it for him. But again, these are the things that you had to kind of think of coming into this season where it was like, you could move on from these guys and it wouldn't have affected you, but here you are.
And here we are with the Bengals likely taking another L against the Raiders. So
Kaepernick, I don't know if it's a fit. It doesn't make much sense just with the structure of the team.
I mean, at this point, it's just sort of like Why not? Let's throw some spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. have Kaepernick come in. Andy Dalton's leaving anyways. Finley's not going to be any good. Let's have Kaepernick come in and start for a year or two and, let Burrow sit underneath Kaepernick next year until he's ready to go. Let's talk. Can we talk some Reds real quick? Some hot stove? Because
nobody's more excited than you. Let's do it.
Baseball season never ends, baby. That's what I'm saying. Baseball season never ends. And this week, crazy stuff going down. The Reds are expected to be very active this winter, so I'm expecting a lot of hot stove talk. Derek Dietrich, crowd favorite. Everybody loved him this year. He had his crazy antics, sleeveless shirts and bug outfit and like whatever. He was outrighted to Louisville. He's gone. I mean, the dude struggled at the end of the year, so I get that move. The Reds now have 5 open spots on the 40-man roster, and there's been a lot of rumors circulating as to who they're going to go after. 2 of the names that keep coming up, Didi Gregorius and Yasmani Grandal. Didi makes sense. I get that one. You need some middle infield help. You need a consistent shortstop. That one makes sense. Why would you go after Grandal? Like, that doesn't... the dude got traded because Votto was blocking him at first. His other position is catcher, and Tucker just signed an extension like last year. So I don't understand why he would be any type of fit for this team. But they are, like, everybody is predicting those 2 are going to come back to the Reds. They're going to boomerang back to the Reds.
I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I mean, again, it makes sense with just their MO of, well, we're just trying to sign the best guys regardless of position. Like, it just, hey, let's be in competition for the best free agents, period.
And that's
like, we're like, just from a pure, we're trying to get better. Doesn't matter what the position is, doesn't matter the fit. We'll figure that out. We're just trying to sign players that are good. So, like, I get it from that standpoint, only because what have they been doing for the past 2 off seasons? Like, nobody knows. Like, there doesn't seem to be a plan. So you might as well just play a video game with it and be like, hey, the guys at the top of the list, I'm just going to try to sign them.
Well, and that's what it is. Didi and Yasmani are ranked. They're both in the top 12, I think, of free agents this year. The other name that keeps coming up is Marcell Ozuna. That one makes sense because you have a young outfield.
Yeah.
At least you get a decent outfielder that can produce for you right away. So out of those 3 names, I would rank my wish list as like Ozuna 1, Didi 2, Yasmani 3.
See, I would still think Didi is 1, and because I mean they've had the gluttony of outfielders and outfielders,
but they're young guys. Like you have Winker, you've got who else? Nick Senzel out there, so they're younger.
What about your boy, Mr. Home Run every
Double A, baby?
Yeah. Mr. Home Run every at bat until not.
Yeah.
Aquafina.
What's it?
Are Steedies Aquafina?
Let's just pay attention to the first half of his season.
Yeah, okay, cool.
When I was clamoring for like, he could be Rookie of the Year if he played the whole season. Boy, that took a big downturn.
That didn't age well. But yeah, no, I mean, I still think that like Didi would be he's the best all-around player out of the 3. Ozuna, the problem with him is like his defense really tanked, and I guess in left field.
Who cares about defense? I don't care. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I know,
Just give me the hits, baby.
Y'all love Adam Dunn, so
Dingers,
I know you don't
baby.
care about
give me
defense.
them dingers. All about them dingers.
Who wants to see me hit some dingers? Yeah, I get it, but I would still rank Didi first, and then Ozuna, and then Grandal seems to be the least.
It just doesn't make sense to bring him back into the fold. I just love that the 2 names that came out first were former Reds players that they got rid of previously. It's like, hey, guys, don't worry. We're going to go ahead and bring them back. We're going to bring them back.
Also, not just got rid of, drafted.
Yeah.
They drafted both of them and got rid of them. Like, the Reds have a history of drafting good guys, but then them never, ever actually playing for the Reds. Real ridiculous.
Freddie Galvis also was signed this week, so there's another name. That's another name that it's like, what's this guy gonna?
Galvis.
What's he gonna do? Like he was all right, I guess, towards the end of the
He's
year.
just a guy.
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense to have him. He's turning 30.
He's already 30?
Yeah, he just turned 30. After the show drops, he had just turned 30.
That's so weird because it's like, I mean, I feel like I've
feel like
paid
he's-
attention to his whole career. But if you ask me how old he was, I'd be like, I don't know, 24.
Right.
Like he seems like he's been around forever, but isn't really that old. He's in San Diego, Philadelphia.
Okay, but there again, so you sign Freddie Galvis, who can play shortstop, and you're trying to bring in Didi Gregorius, who is a shortstop. The moves and like where positions are lining up just don't make sense. I think you've got it right.
And Jose Iglesias is basically the shortstop.
Right, exactly. Iglesias is there. I just don't get it. I feel like the Reds front office is just like, we're making moves, we're doing things, and it's like, okay, but why? They're just moves. Look at the moves.
They're that, and it's also like Little League Baseball where they're like, hey, you just have to have skill. We'll find a position for you. It doesn't matter what position you play. Just be good at baseball, and we'll figure out a spot in the everyday lineup for you. Doesn't matter. Look, the most athletic kid plays pitcher.
Yep, sounds like baseball.
All right. Well, I'm excited to keep up with the Reds hot stove.
I mean,
talk.
I'm here all the way for some baseball talks. I mean, I hope the Reds keep doing stuff.
They're gonna do
so that I can talk.
Well, and that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna do stuff. They're gonna throw it out there, and they're gonna finish maybe 500 next year.
for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got $100 million owed to Joey Votto until 2023, so what can you actually really do?
Not a whole lot.
Open up them pocketbooks. Who cares? Do it. Do
You're
whatever.
very hamstrung.
It's not that bad. That's really the only big contract on the books for the Reds, right?
No, I know, but I mean, it's still one that's like their albatross. Like, it's like it precludes them from doing a lot of other things because that one thing. It's just like, we absolutely cannot move this contract and we have to play him every day because of the numbers. But based on, like, especially the last 2 seasons, you're like, what are you getting?
Do you think Joey Votto continues his weird check swing, warm-up swing next year? Or do you think he comes up with something different? Because that was the weirdest thing to watch him do weird.
I mean, I just think he should just go back to just trolling fans. I mean, that's the best. He's the best at that right now.
He is pretty good at that.
That's his best
That's
skill
pretty
at
good,
this
yeah.
point.
That's when Joey Votto's at his best.
Taking a walk and trolling fans.
Let's get into some Xavier hoops and talk about XU. Maybe.
We went out there and zipped them up at the end of the game.
I'm back on board with that drop.
Dynamite. I like it.
We went out there and zipped them up at the end of the game.
Real thugs. Xavier, just a kill machine lately.
Woof. Woof. Golly, man.
The Muskies win their first 2 games, and admittedly, I mean they won. I think each won by 20 points, but still dropped 2 places in the rankings. Which
The
I didn't
only
understand.
team in the top 25 to drop after winning both of their games.
I really
is
didn't
weird.
understand how you dropped them down after winning by 20, basically by 20 both times. They go out and play Missouri, and
Well, they also, like, since we've been on, they played Siena on Friday.
oh, that's right. I forgot about the Siena game already.
Yeah, they played Siena and handled them, and then night before last played Missouri. But Missouri was much more the Xavier we've come to expect and know and deal with over our tenure as fans and having gone there. Just get out to a lead, look like things are in hand, then fall in love with the 3-ball. And this team has never, since I've been a fan, had any really consistent 3-point shooters. Now, they might have 1 or 2 guys every so often that are like, all right, they can knock down threes. You think of 2 Holloway and guys like that, where it's like, yeah, they can hit threes.
Redford. That's the one that always comes up in my
but they've
brain.
never been like a Villanova where it's like, oh, there's 3 or 4 guys that they're lights out from 3
Right.
if you leave them open, they're dead. But they have all the guys who love to shoot the threes. And now that they've expanded to the NBA 3-point line in college, it's like even worse. So it's like they fell in love with it the other night against Missouri. And just brick after brick in Brick City. And next thing you know, it's like, there's a 5-minute drought here. Where
Yep.
they let Missouri back in the game. And, they ended up winning, and it's like, oh, it's one of those gritty, like, ugly wins. And sure, they're still undefeated, but it's just like, man, I really wish that they would just not do that, because it ends up dooming them, like, later on when it matters, where they, falling in love with jump shots, where it's like,
Yeah.
and when we're not falling and they're not doing what, they're supposed to be doing, you just are like, all right, well, clamp down and just get an easy bucket. And they can't do it or won't do it, or they're so in love with the jump shot that they just don't.
It's such a weird philosophy, and I feel like, you bring up the point that this is the Xavier team we've come to expect since being there, and
This has transcended coaching changes.
right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel
just
like
keeps being a
it's
thing.
just an ingrained philosophy, and the fact that Xavier never goes outside of the same coaching tree to hire out. Like, it went Thad to Sean Miller to Mac, and now to Travis Steele. All of them have been involved in that same, like, it's just been this, like, straight line tree. It's like Alabama family tree that's just straight. There's no branches
What
to
I mean,
it.
it's successful, so it's like, on
It
one hand,
works,
I was like, you
right,
don't
it
want to do
works.
it. But it's like, it
but
works
that
really
philosophy.
great. It works really great, too. Like, all of them have, like, all right, we're going to clamp down on defense, which is great. Like,
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
But it's like that offense thing, it's like, depending on the personnel, they can put up scores in bunches, but then they just have these long cold spells, and like they don't have like they rarely have, if they do, like a go-to guy that can break a dry spell.
Right.
Like they have a bunch of guys that are like, all right, I'm gonna be the guy, and they just start chucking things up, and they try to shoot their way out of it, and it just never quite works because they've never had like great shooters. They have really good shooters, but not great. And so they've always been kind of susceptible to these droughts. And, when it happens at the wrong time against the wrong team, then they, end up losing. With Missouri,
Right.
they were able to hold them off. But it's like, this is what ultimately makes me pause. And what's it's like, oh, this is why they dropped 2 spots, because maybe the voters are like, yeah, they won, but Xavier's going to Xavier at some point.
But they dropped after winning by 20. This one, and Joe just had it up, the only three-pointer that they made in the second half was Najee Marshall's three-pointer to tie it. That was the only three-pointer. And if I'm not mistaken, as Joe was cycling through, I think I saw that they're 13 of 63 on the year from behind the arc. Holy crap, that is terrible. You know the saying, live by the arc, die by the arc? Xavier just continues to die by the arc.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and you can tell them that stat too, and they're like, "Well, we've got to get better, or we'll just not shoot them." But they still just get in, like, all of them will just get 3.
We got to check them. We got to
Yeah,
check them up,
and
baby.
One of them was like, "All right, I'm gonna be the one to break us out of this," and they're just like, "No, you're not," and they just keep bricking them until the next thing you know, the other team clamps down and comes back, and it makes the game closer than it needs to be. It's just
It is his 13 of 63 on the year.
infinitely frustrating, man.
First of
What's
all-
that percentage? What is that percentage when you
It's
look at that?
Not good.
20.
20.6.
Oh my God, 20% as a team from 3-point range in your first 3 games,
Yeah, in 3 games.
2 of which were against gimmies.
Rust. It's rust, baby. That's all this is.
Yeah,
It's just
off-season
rust.
rust.
Kick that rust off. Just keep chucking them up. They'll fall.
Goodness.
But 3-0, that's the important thing.
Yeah, no, I mean they're getting W's, but it just
And this was a win. The first 2 are obviously wins. We talked about Xavier's out of conference schedule is complete garbage outside of Wake Forest, which they always play Cincinnati.
Yeah,
and then
and the-
this Missouri
the
game.
crosstown shootouts quickly approaching.
Right, it's like next week almost.
Basically, I mean we are gonna blink and it's gonna be here because
Right.
it's the 7th of December. So
So let's talk about a little UC basketball as they continue to bounce
Play basketball?
back.
that's how I feel about them this year. They continue to play basketball.
I mean, UC had obviously the game against Ohio State, fared a lot better than what we thought, and then
For
since
sure.
then have done very well on their season. This is a team that I'm surprised hasn't gotten any votes for the top 25.
They have 1 win
That's still better. They're faring very well.
against Aubrey.
They did beat Aubrey handily, though. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
They're looking good. Like, this is a team. Also, This is releasing on Friday. I'm assuming that they're winning their next game too.
Oh, my bad.
It's Alabama A&M, so I'm guessing they win that one by like 25.
You also run the risk of them having not won that one and sounding even dumber.
That is crazy because there's no way that a team from a major conference would lose to a team like Alabama A&M. Like that's.
What's up, UK? How you doing? How you
I
doing,
know, it's
UK?
like a 16 beating a 1. That never happens.
How you
Unless
doing,
you're
BBN? You good, BBN?
UK at home.
That is the one thing that Xavier fans and UC fans can come together on and celebrate together is UK losing to Evansville. Oh
At
my God.
home.
Oh, it's the greatest. It's the greatest. Like, end the basketball season now. I don't even care about anything else. That was my March Madness right there. It's done. I don't even care. It's over. The season's done. Cincinnati, they get their first win under the new regime here in town by beating Drake and likely beat Alabama A&M as well. We'll just edit over that. If they didn't, it'll just be me being like, lose.
No, we won't.
I was going to say, no, we won't. It's as is. So just like, God, these guys are dumb.
Yeah, we are. But anyways, so they're looking fairly strong. This is a team that I could see getting some votes. I really thought they were going to get some votes this week, so I was kind of surprised that they didn't. And going into next week, I wouldn't be surprised if UC is at least in the conversation for that top 25. I think by the time the shootout rolls around, UC and Xavier are both going to be ranked.
Maybe. Yeah, because how far out did we say that UC was from the top 25? Were they like 27 or something like that?
No, they
Like
weren't
they're-
even receiving votes at this point. Like,
Oh,
so they're
okay.
not in that mix. But you still have until the 7th, so you've got a couple weeks.
Sure.
So some
But I
statement
guess
games
it would help just to know, like, if they, because they do those top 100 rankings or whatever. It's just like to see how far away they were just in the voters' eyes of, well, are they mid 30s or are they 40? Like, how far do they have to go to like kind of inch their way up there? Like, who all needs to lose to like garner enough votes? I guess.
Yeah, so they didn't get even a vote to get in the top 25, and there were about 18 more, so they're probably in the 40 range.
40 range. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, there's an outside chance, but I have a feeling, assuming Evanston doesn't just go and take down all the top 25, that they'll be just like on the outside looking in, like it'll be like, oh, they're on the cusp of being ranked, like they'll be
which
receiving
sucks.
votes.
I really want them to be in the top 25 because if they're on that cusp and then they're playing the shootout against a ranked Xavier team, that's prime. Like, that's set up perfectly for them to beat Xavier and jump into the top 25 and knock Xavier out of the top 25, and then I just start wrecking stuff.
Well, I have a
just
feeling that's
flip
just how
tables.
It's gonna be. It's all set up. We always know that whoever the favored team is.
Yeah, it's
is the one
never.
that
It's.
Well, while we're talking about UC, should we hop over to football?
I think we should talk a little UC football. Although there's not much to change here with UC football. College football rankings come out. UC football still the highest ranked group of 5 team.
They squeaked by UConn.
Just barely beat UConn with that. What was it? 48-3 was the final.
48-3.
So they covered.
Yeah,
We weren't sure if they were going to cover.
they covered by quite a bit.
But that was one of the we were like, oh, they could win by 31, and it's still like, wow.
Sure.
Clearly covered that game.
So the big matchup, though, the one we've talked about all year, South Florida this week.
Not really. This isn't that big of a matchup.
No. I mean, we talked about it like at the beginning of the year. I know it has
This is
become
where it's,
lesser,
like,
but
starts-
it's like
right.
this is still though one of the matchups in their conference that it's
Yeah.
like, regardless of what's happened with South Florida this year,
I think
it's still a matchup that it's like, all right, they need to make sure that they win this game.
It's more you're going to get progressively harder over the next 3 weeks. South Florida isn't that great. Temple after that is a little bit better,
And then Memphis.
and then end the season with Memphis,
Right.
which that's going to be an interesting game as you get into that one, because that could be. This is a possibility, and I don't know how the tiebreakers work in the West, but that could be a game where you play Memphis the last game of the season and then have to turn around and play them again in the American Championship. because there's a bunch of teams in the West that are all sitting at one loss, and it's very possible that Memphis could end up being that number one team on that side, and UC have to play them 2 weeks in a row basically, and you never want to do that. That sounds like terrifying.
Ridiculous. Yeah, well, especially since, beating a team 2 times in a row is next to impossible.
Right.
And beating it 2 times once in a season is hard, but 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row, that's insane. So that is kind of the storyline that I'm keeping an eye on, is how that's going to shake out on the West. You've got Navy is playing Notre Dame this week, which is going to be a fairly good game, but I'm, for selfish reasons, hoping that Navy loses that one. So they're going to have 2 losses. So that takes them kind of out of that conversation. And then you still have SMU and Memphis then battling for that top spot in the West. I mean, regardless of who UC plays, I still think it comes down to the American champion is going to a New Year's Six bowl. Like that's how the rankings are all shaping up. Current prediction right now, and I think this was the same one as last week. The Cotton Bowl, they're predicting UC against Utah in the Cotton Bowl.
Still just so meh.
Yeah, it's just
I think you're just like, oh, okay, cool.
Go back to that prediction, though, real quick, Joe, because what I find interesting about that, though, is if Utah is in the Cotton Bowl, and they had them ranked at, like, number 7 at that point, who do they have in the playoffs? They've got Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, and Georgia. So they've got the Pac-12 getting shut out of the playoffs in their current projections.
Well, yeah, because that's the top 4 currently.
But that's stupid because you got to assume that LSU or Georgia lose in the
they're going
the SEC title.
Well, so yeah, the college football predictions are what they are then, huh?
No, you assume that one of those teams loses. So basically,
But
one of them is getting knocked out of the playoffs.
That's not what they're doing. They're going with the exact rankings.
This is garbage is what it is. They need to forecast how this is going to shake out because Georgia is going to lose that SEC championship game, and they're getting knocked out. Give me my predictions based on what is likely going to happen, not this BS as what these garbage rankings are as of right now. Alabama, Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl?
You okay with these garbage rankings then?
I mean, I'm cool with that game. I'd like to watch that one. I'd be cool watching that one. Although,
or an Oregon, Minnesota Rose Bowl?
Nah.
Nobody
Hard
wants
pass.
to see
Hard
that.
pass.
What about the Orange Bowl with Penn State and Wake Forest?
Also hard pass. Wait, how does Wake Forest get in there?
Second ACC team?
No, the Orange Bowl at that point, where do they have Notre Dame going then? Because Notre Dame gets that ACC bowl tie-in. So Notre Dame should get that Orange Bowl bid. If Clemson goes to the playoffs, the number 2 ACC team or Notre Dame would go to the Orange Bowl. Why would you not take Notre Dame and you take Wake Forest? Get the hell out of here. ESPN's drunk. This is stupid.
Okay, so back to local. Back to local content.
Sorry for the
But yeah,
the
UC
tirade.
don't get caught in trap games these next 2 weeks before Memphis.
For sure.
Huge. Yeah, these 2 weeks, this is where you test to find out how good of a coach Fickle really is.
What? No, and I mean, it's like, because if you do, the drop-off is going to be so substantial.
Ooh, it's going to be ugly.
Like, you're going to go from one of these, like, name bowls to the PapaJohns.com's, Little Caesars Bowl.
I feel like if you don't get this New Year's Six Bowl, if there's a loss to either UCF, USF, or Temple, it's Belk Bowl. Like that's where you're going.
Like you're gonna hit
Belk
one of
Bowl
those
in
bowls.
The
middle of
Liberty
December.
one, Belk Bowl in Nashville.
One of the ones nobody wants to play in.
Where it's still cold. Like you don't even get to
Yeah.
experience good weather. Ugh, that sounds
So it's
terrible.
like it's so crucial to win these next 2.
And this is where we'll find out how good of a coach Fickle is, because this is where you have to, because all of these kids are looking ahead to that Memphis game. Like, cause that's,
sure.
That's the game that you gotta win, and likely have to beat them twice. so terrible. Oh shoot! I'm really excited to see how this all shakes out though for UC coming up, because it would be, as somebody who, I'm not a huge UC football fan, but it would be good for the area to see them get into a New Year's Six Bowl.
I mean, because Xavier doesn't like directly compete with them. Like, I don't have a problem with them doing whatever. I mean, it's nice to see them competing for these big name bowls versus being in a Belk Bowl or whatever. The Outback screwless AutoZone bowl. Like it just like one of
What
those
bowl was that?
weird name bowls where it's like one of those bowls that have like 15 different sponsors and then throw .com at the end. And it's like, okay, cool.
GoDaddy.
It's one of those bowls that's from an actual company, though, not like the NCAA when they got duped into signing the deal with the bowl with a company that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
How would you like to go to that bowl where it's like, oh, we're playing for the sham bowl? It's not a real sponsor. Before we get out of here, do you want to do that hockey real quick and give a Cyclones update for us?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, you hit us with a little Cyclones update. Do that hockey, Scott, because you are the hockey expert on this show.
You're just gonna put me on the spot there, huh? Okay. You're gonna be that guy. You're gonna be that guy.
I just want you to be the Chance the Rapper.
Hey, bro. Saturday is Batman night.
What?
Yeah.
Dude,
Saturday
are you
is
serious?
Batman night.
That sounds amazing.
I mean, if you're into Batman.
Yeah, you're not into Batman?
I mean, he's okay.
I know
I'm
you're a big
Marvel guy.
Spider-Man.
I'm a big Marvel guy, but as of all the DC guys, I don't mind this thing. Joe mentioned that he might go to Dollar Beer Night here against the Americans on Thursday night. So
That Joe just went to the Dollar Beer Night last night.
Whatever.
maybe he hadn't decided. He's undecided if he went to the beer
This
night or
this
not.
whole timing thing and
That's
future-
I don't know why he tries to do it. It's like trying to pretend that we're not recording on a Wednesday and releasing on a Friday. Like it's whatever. Like there's only so much we can do, but whatever. They won their last two, so
Dude, they got WWE Night coming up too. That's another promotion that I'd kind of be. Mick Foley is gonna be there. Wait, Mick Foley
and Mark Henry.
and Mark Henry are gonna be at the game.
the world's strongest man. Shit.
The only way to get a chance to meet Mick Foley and Mark Henry is through an exclusive pregame meet and greet.
I also didn't realize that they're wearing Batman jerseys on these Batman nights.
Dude, they do it all out. When it's a theme night, they go all out. Do you remember last year when they did the Mighty Ducks series and they wore the Mighty Ducks jerseys? Oh,
you could add to a bobblehead Puck Chop as Batman.
That's a legit bobblehead, bro. That's a real good. Why has he got buck teeth?
That's Puck Chop. It's like the hockey player that lost his tooth.
Yeah, but he doesn't have any lost teeth. He's just got a buck tooth.
No, it's Puck Chop.
But that's not lost. The teeth are still there. It's just gap tooth. Go to the that view. The bobblehead does not do that justice. The bobblehead makes it look like he's got a gap tooth. He's not. That one, it's like, oh yeah, he's missing his front
a
tooth. Cool.
Right.
Also, look at those stats for Puck Chop. 6'2", 5'13".
He weighs 5'13".
Wee! That's a big boy. His favorite movie is Babe, Chicken Little, and Gordy.
Who writes these
I love
things?
minor league sports. They're so damn good. That's so good. I never realized that Twister also is missing a tooth. I never noticed that before.
I never did either. That's brand new for me.
It's got to be new. That has to have. First of all, I don't think I've ever noticed that Twister had teeth.
No, I definitely knew that. He's always had that grin, but I don't ever remember the tooth missing.
Yeah,
That's
was
completely new.
I
for me.
played in a mascot hockey game, or a mascot broomball game against Twister, and I don't remember that tooth being missing.
They're 12-7.
That's solid. Where are they ranking currently in the?
Oh wait, I'm sorry. They've played 12 games. They're 7-4. Jesus, doing that hockey. they're 7-4-1. I hope people are tuning in just for our hockey updates because they're like, oh God, you ever listen to this Cincinnati style? These two bozos don't know a thing about hockey and they try to talk it and it is hilarious.
We found our niche, baby. That's our niche. This show should just be Cyclones hockey.
Oh my God.
Unfounded. We have no idea what we're talking about as it relates to it. We're just going to talk about the mascot missing a tooth. It's going to be great. That's the whole show.
Next week we're gonna be like, wait a minute, is the Cyclone missing a tooth? Never seen that before.
Let's just recap real quick the Cyclones talk we've done on the show. We introed that we wanted to get into Cyclones talk. We talked about minor league hockey mascots for a good 10 minutes.
Talked about Batman night and WWE night. And then I blundered the standings by looking at games played versus the actual schedule. We've done that hockey.
Killing this.
Oh, we also debated whether or not Joe was actually at the game because we're future guessing. God. What a...
That's
It's
my
been a
new-
show.
That's my new favorite way to end the show, just doing that hockey.
Every week, we attempt to talk hockey.
We are going to nail it every single time we talk about Cyclones hockey.
gosh.
If anything, it's going to be entertaining as hell. That's all you got to worry about. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We have fun doing this. We hope you guys enjoy listening. Be sure to follow the show in between shows at Craft B Sports. You can follow Scott at ScottyK_Jr. Follow me at Mike Burlon. Follow Joe at JoeGoalie4. We've got a Q&A show that we're dropping at the end of this month, a new monthly series that we're doing. So if you've got any questions, Cincy sports related or not, doesn't matter.
Make them hockey related.
440-37-DRUNK is the drunk line that you can hit up. Text that number. You can shoot us a Twitter DM, Facebook message, whatever. Get your questions in. We're going to be dropping that show at the end of November here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Till next week. Cheers, everybody.
Peace. We out.